Hello, hello. Deborah Roth here, back for another installation in my multi-year series celebrating goddesses around the world called Embodying Your Inner Goddess Team, Connecting with Your Inner Goddess Team. And I just do them a couple times a month now, and it's always fascinating to me. I've just learned so much. And this was one, this week's is one that I've heard of kind of vaguely, but she does personify so much of what we talk about. The whole reason I do this is that I believe so passionately that what our world needs most right now is to really embrace and bring back, to reactivate all those divinely feminine qualities that all these goddesses around the world personify. And Dike, the Greek goddess of justice and moral values, is certainly one of those that, oh boy, it seems like I don't watch the news anymore, but I definitely read. I want to keep up to date. And she would come in very handy right now in the United States, in so many places around the world. So I'll tell you a little bit about her. I guess she's I guess considered a minor goddess, but she held huge importance in the Greek pantheon. She was actually the daughter of Zeus and Themis, and she was revered for many reasons. One is that she was actually considered not even a living being, but rather a living embodiment, what they called a daemon. She embodied justice, and to be able to tap into her energy, you can call on her. You can call on her whenever whenever you're going into any kind of trial or legal proceeding, or if you see injustice in the world. There are wonderful depictions of her, many of them doing battle with another goddess, the goddess of injustice, who I had absolutely never heard of, Adikia. And that's one of my pictures from that I found on them. She is, let's see, I have to hold it in a better way so you can actually see Adikia, who is injustice, who is actually on the ground being vanquished by Dike. Many different ways. I've been researching to pronounce her name. Dike, it's Dike. And so she is constantly, that is part of her mission, is to vanquish injustice and moral turpitude around the world, and anywhere that she encounters it. Because she never married, unlike many of the Greek gods and goddesses. She never had a partner, which means that she has no offspring. And yet, because she is really actually this embodiment of justice, she is, her legacy really is in the rule of law, which we could use some of that in this country. She carried on through, I'm looking at my notes because there ended up being a lot I found out about her. Carried on through descendants, not through descendants, but through principles of justice and moral order that she embodies. She's usually depicted, and in that image that I just showed you, Dike is usually depicted with the sword of justice, where she slashes away all injustice, and with the sword of justice. And the scales. Oh my gosh. So the scales, like Athena, many of the of the Greek goddesses carried scales. And that represents the balance that she brings. And it's one of the reasons I'm highlighting her right now, because we are just now moving out of the Libra time into the Scorpio season. And I actually was going to do her right in the middle of Libra time, but for a number of reasons didn't. But the scales of justice, which we see all over courtrooms and courthouses all over the country. She was considered, she's always depicted as this beautiful young, like so many goddesses are, except when you get to the crone goddesses, this beautiful young crusader. I actually found, oh good, I did bring it with me. a beautiful poem to her. It's a translation. I don't think it's a literal translation. I think it's a poem written in the form of an Auric hymn, because she's mentioned somewhat in there, but it's more her mother Themis, who was very well known. And the other reason I was bringing her in is that she's sometimes really closely associated with Estrella, who I highlighted 2 weeks ago, something like that, who is the star goddess, but who is also considered kind of interchangeably. That Estrella, let's see, she was the goddess of justice, but true innocence. That true innocence and justice are very connected, but they were not the same. They were two different goddesses. She also, let's see, Estrella was also associated with Dike, the goddess of fair judgment. Mirrored in the stars were were the constellation Virgo, which represents Estrella, when she left the earth because she had gotten sick and tired of how humankind, as they were moving into the Iron Ages, were acting so horribly. She ascended to the heavens and became the constellation Virgo, and lies near Libra, which is which are the scales, the symbol, of course, of Dike. And so the two of them together really represent this and emphasize the ideals of balance, of fairness, of moral order in the universe. Dike is also connected. Two of her sisters were part of the Horae, which were the goddesses of the seasons. One of them was Eunomia, of good order, the goddess of good order, and Eirene, who is the goddess of peace. How perfect is that, to be connected with their sister, the goddess of justice? So, for humanity, for humankind, she represented. She was the one that you could invoke when you needed support in an unjust situation, to vanquish, like she does Adikia, to vanquish the foes of justice. But the gods and goddesses on Olympus also relied on her to do the same. She was considered a completely fair judge, and you would come to her if you didn't, because if you've read any of the Greek myths, you know how they're constantly fighting, constantly tricking each other and turning themselves into other things so that they could rape someone or do something not great. Which is why I think Dike is one of the ones, even though she's considered a minor goddess, that she was one of the few that even the gods and goddesses knew that they could rely on a fair judgment from her. What else do I want to tell you? That's interesting. She possesses the unique ability to discern truth from falsehood, and she doesn't merely enforce the law, she defines it. Her scales and sword are not just symbols, but tools through which she maintains the cosmic balance in the universe. There weren't really there were temples that were dedicated to her, but maybe not as numerous as some of the other ones. Usually situated by courthouses, primarily worshipped in a legal context, which we've talked about. I'm probably missing something really cool about her, but I think I've hit on the major points. Like I said, I love diving into it, especially when it's someone that I didn't know so well. Okay, I think that's the basics about her. You've got her, her symbols, her scales, and her sword. And so I will end with, didn't have one, I love to sing a chant for some of these goddesses. This one is just this beautiful poem written in the form of an Orphic hymn. Eye of justice, Dike, I celebrate you with song and dance, all-seeing, resplendent in form. You who are seated upon the holy throne of Master Zeus, beholding from heaven the life of all manner of the dying, a righteous avenger, oppressing, sounds like a superhero, oppressing to the unjust, imposing justice through equality, pitting the lawless and inharmonious inharmonious against truth. And of course, she always wins in that battle. For on all sides, in all the dubious decisions carried out by mortals' even inclinations or bad judgments, by those coveting the whole for themselves through foul play and stacked counsels, you alone, trampling upon the unjust, stir up and awaken justice. You are aware of the uncivilized, but as the genteel reason, you attend the descent. So come, righteous goddess, appear as sensible teachings, show up as moral decision-making, pass good judgments whenever, however, the fated day of life eternal arrives suddenly. So you all know, hello Janine, you all know that I post it, that these go up on my YouTube channel. Usually Thursday afternoons is when my web goddess gets them up there. And I'll put the link to that. And I put other links. I just put a little bit of overview of these different goddess archetypes that I highlight. So you can find out more there on my YouTube channel, just YouTube, probably YouTube/Deborah Roth or something like that. So thank you for being with me. I'll check in with you again in a couple weeks with, I don't remember what goddess, but I hope that you will call on Dike, do a little bit of exploring yourself. If you've got, as you look around the world, almost every day we're seeing injustices, but if you in particular have a personal need for some support in any of those areas, thanks for joining me. I'll connect with you again soon.